Hey everybody, Kim here, Faceted Media. Today we're going to learn about how to use Canva. So let's get to it. We've got Canva right here. Right when you first open it up, you've got some options here. Most people don't click on the More section, but you can see there's a bunch more things you can do. A couple of highlights are infographic. I tend to use social media quite a bit. Keep in mind though, this is 800 by 800 pixels, so it is going to be quite a large graphic. It will work for social media, but if you're using this size on a website or in a newsletter, it can be kind of large. So I'm going to go ahead and just make a smaller one. I like to do custom dimensions. If you want to do a rectangle, you could do something like 450 by 600. You'll get more of a rectangle shape. And of course, if I want to do a square, I can do 450 by 450. You go ahead and press design once you've picked your size. And the next thing that you tend to do with Canva, or that I like to do, is go ahead and pick the background. They have some preset backgrounds. You can do a plain color, or I typically like to use a photo to make it really personal. I tend to skip these layouts. I find them to be a little bit limiting and that you can make your own. So let me show you how to do some of those things. So I really like Googling just patterns. And you can find some really cool patterns sometimes online that are copyright free that you can use. I'm going to leave a little bit of white at the top and bottom. And if you see that purple flashing right there, let's see if right there, I'm right there in the middle. I was playing around with layers and stuff. So I'm also going to set that guy right there in the middle. Okay, so now I've got a really cool background, but if I tried to put text over that, it would get lost, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. So, and you can just double click. I do like the templates that they have for the text. A lot of these are really new. So once it gets a little bit old, a lot of people have been using it. You kind of want to try to be a little bit more unique. That won't delete. Okay. Been using them all the time, but these are pretty cool. So I'll just show you one of these right now. So you drag that over and you can't see anything. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it to white to see if that helps. Okay, it is way hard to read. So what can I do? There's a couple things. One, you can click on your background image and hover right over here, transparency. And you can make it more transparent. But that's not really working for me. So I'm going to go ahead and put the transparency back, but know that that's a good tool for photos, especially when you're putting text over them. I'm going to put the transparency back and try something else. Moving on into shapes. So if you go ahead and go into elements, you can find your shapes right here. And I like to do this when the text is difficult to read. I typically use the square. And I will shape it to cover just the text. Just cover the text right there. Next, I typically change it to a little bit of a lighter colored gray. And then I'll push it to the back. And I want to get the full exclamation point in there and maybe give it a little more room down here now that I can see it better. And then I do some transparency. And I might go ahead and change the text back to black now so that we can see what is going on here. So let's take a look at this. And also note in this text box, see how they twisted it? So you can play around with the shapes of everything. So there I go, okay? If I wanted to do this a little bit more transparent to see more of the background, I could do that too. And you'll see it just has a slight cover. And so I actually really like that. So that's transparency is really great. I want to show you a couple other things. They've got images, they've got illustrations, lots of things that you can use. I like to do things like this. So I'm going to type in ferns. I've got some free stuff here. I really like some of these designs. Make sure you don't pick the dollar ones. I mean, there's no point. You can usually find stuff for free that you can use. If you really love something though, hey, go ahead and get it. So I kind of like getting creative with some things like this where you can kind of get a little frame action. So, I could add something like that to the side if I was wanting to do something tropical. Say it was like a travel announcement, something like that. But anyways, you can change the color for anything. So yeah, you can type in anything up here. If you wanted to go to illustrations and separate it that way, you can go there. If you want to do photos, you can do it there. Unfortunately, they don't separate it with free at the top. It's kind of all mixed in between pro, $1, etc. So that's kind of a little bit about that. And shapes. Again, you can kind of play around with the text and play around with the shaping and design of everything that you're doing. But if you go ahead and use some of these tools, especially the transparency, it'll make your life a lot easier when you are creating graphics. Last and finally, I just want to give you one last tip when you're downloading your image. Ping images. Those are high quality images. They're really better for printing. They could also be used for social media. When it comes to your website, though, it's going to take longer for the picture to post, to load. It just takes up more memory and bandwidth. So what you'll want to do for a website is do JPEG. What you'll want to do for printing, like a business card and such, is one of these guys. And then for social, if you know you're only using it for social, you can go ahead and use the ping as well. So even though it says recommended, when it comes to your website, go ahead and go for the JPEG. That'll make sure that your site stays as fast as it could possibly be. All right, so any other questions, just go ahead and comment below and I will get back to you. Thanks for watching and good luck. Have fun. Enjoy working with Canva.